Now, the Office theme famously does not have lyrics. However, you said in chapter 15 of The Bassoon King, you said, perhaps I'll sing them to you one day if you're nice.
You haven't been very nice.
I'm a pretty nice guy.
Yeah, I have some Office lyrics.
Can we do it?
The theme song. It's been a very long time. I have to read them off. Is that okay?
Yeah, now do you need us to set the rhythm or you kind of have it in your head? Down? All right, we'll do it as a group. Yeah, here we go.
Something like that.
Okay, so here we go. We're gonna do it as a group. A 1, a 2, a 1, 2, 3.
The Office, a show about a boss. Mostly it's a show about Dwight. Show is a lot of fun. Mostly Dwight's a lot of fun. Remember Stanley. Mostly I remember Dwight. Krasinski's manly. No one wants a bobblehead of Jim. Let's face it, it's a show about Dwight. Let's get real.
Wow, let's go. Let's go.
Thank you, America.
All right.
Thank you.
All right. Holy shit. What a great way.
You just got your viral cutaway.
Of course. What are we but little micro content babies?
Micro content. There you go.
Ladies and gentlemen, Mr. Rainn Wilson.
Oh, stop, please. Stop, really. Thank you.
Rainn, I just got to say, let's set the table here. You have joined the pantheon of classic TV characters as Dwight Schrute. Would you agree?
Why, thank you, Hasan.
Well, in chapter 3 of your great book,
Yes.
The Bassoon King, you said you were never drawn to the main character of a TV show. You were always drawn to the weird neighbors.
Yep.
The agents of chaos. The B storyline characters.
Sure.
And now, I would say you're an all-time GOAT TV weirdo.
All-time GOAT TV weirdo.
Totally.
It's going to be on my tombstone.
Now, let me ask you a question.
Yeah.
Who are your top 3 all-time TV weirdos?
Okay, that is an awesome question, and you're absolutely right. When I was growing up, it was the TV clowns, it was the weirdos, the misfits, the guys who are running the B story and the C story.
Yes.
One of my favorite shows of all time, and I think it's underappreciated, is Taxi. Do you remember Taxi?
Yes. Yeah.
So Jim Ignatowski, Reverend Jim, played by Christopher Lloyd, was my number 1.
TV weirdo.
But then Andy Kaufman playing Latka Gravis.
He's also
number
a
2.
weirdo.
They were able to get 2 or 3, and then they had Danny DeVito as the boss. So they had like 3 of the all-time great TV weirdos in one show. In fact, I'm going to answer your question by just saying those 3 on Taxi, best 3 TV weirdos, maybe of all time.
Can I have you go to this camera?
Yeah.
And just impromptu, give your ode to TV weirdos.
Okay.
Yeah, just off the top of the dome.
When one enters the family, the misguided, the disjointed family of a television sitcom, yes, there's the father, yes, there's the crazy boss, yes, there's the uncle, but it's the clowns. Send in the clowns, because that's why we watch television. The A story of people falling in love or getting in trouble in school is there solely to promote the Lennys and Squiggies of the world, who pop in and tickle your funny bone and make life worth living. Boom. Thank you very much.
That was amazing. That was incredible.
This is why you have such a large staff.
Oh, to pick up our guests?
No, yeah, for the clapping.
Of course,
because you're not adding
you
any in post. Are you going to add more clapping in post?
We could. Let's do it. One of the things I love about you, Rainn, is that you're one of the few people that I've seen in their public persona lead with faith and spirituality. Now, you haven't been shunned for it, so my question is, when are you starting the cult?
This is the year, 2025. This is it. We're going to have a launch.
Okay.
Yeah, it's going to be the Third Eye Crystal Palace.com, and would love for you to come to one of our seminars.
Absolutely not. You're not. Okay, jokes aside, I was talking about this with one of our producers. The interesting thing is that you seem to be very happily married. You have a beautiful family, and generally, from the research that I've done, cults generally involve kind of older horn dogs that are looking to get their kinks off.
Yeah, interesting. Yeah.
It usually delves. It takes a quick left turn into sex, and then at some point they have to leave state lines.
It really is true. Isn't that true? I hadn't really thought about
Yes.
that, but you're absolutely right.
Yeah.
It always ultimately boils down to sex.
Yeah, it's just an old horn dog.
But isn't that the same thing with like all of these pastors and preachers that end up, in these kind of sexual escapades and whatnot too? It's like spiritual leaders are seeking to kind of fill a hole in themselves, and when they can't get it through like getting the love and approbation of their followers, then they end up in someone's pants.
By the way, if he does end up becoming a cult leader, I outright condemn all of that behavior, and I had nothing to do with it. I'll give you this. Can I give you the serious question? Why do you think people get so weird about talking about spirituality and faith?
Well, first things first, I want to say that there's a lot of people that talk about spirituality and faith and mental health and spiritual tools, and they kind of present themselves as some kind of guru and having some kind of wisdom that other people don't have. Yeah. I am not that at all.
By the way, I love that you caveat that in your book.
Yeah.
You really do lead.
I don't have answers. I am just on a journey. This is a reflection of the journey that I've been on. I'm no wiser than anyone else. In fact, I'm a colossal fuck up. So that's number one. But to me, I think I have paid a price for talking a lot about spirituality, because I think a lot of the comedy world in Hollywood doesn't know what the fuck to make of a guy who's on a sitcom playing a big weirdo who is talking about God and faith. It just doesn't, it hadn't really happened before.
Yeah,
You know
generally
what I mean?
my friends that are involved in the creative arts, they start to pump the brakes when it comes to talking about religion or spirituality, because they go, oh God, where is this going? Mm-hmm. And how deep is the well here?
Yeah.
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 And at what point are you trying to share information with me?
Or trying to convert me to some way of thinking, or to
and
a
sometimes
belief system,
those lanes are merging
or
pretty
something
quick.
like that.
Yeah.
And let's face it, a lot of talk about spirituality is really weird and off-putting and gross and icky feeling. And what does the word spirituality even mean? To a lot of people, it means Pentecostal church on Sunday at 10 a.m. And to a lot of people, it's like crystals and incense and chakras and very woo-woo angel kind of stuff. And nothing against either of those things. Nothing against church on Sunday and nothing against crystals and incense. But it's such a wide word. Like, what does that mean? When someone is having conversations about it.
What moved you to the point where you go, I do have to, in my post-office persona, have to take on this kind of Oprah guru-like, front-facing, this is my life's mission type vibe?
I'll be as honest with you and as sincere with you as I can possibly be.
Yeah, totally.
Because spirituality saved my life. And for me, these questions are not just something to be pondered at a dinner party or when you're a little stoned in a college dorm room. Like, why we're alive, the meaning of life, is there a God? What is the path towards the divine? Saved my life in a deep mental health crisis when I was pondering whether being alive was the right move or not. I'm not saying I was considering suicide, but those deep 3 a.m., like, why am I alive? Should I be alive? What's the point of all of this? There was a lot of suffering and anguish through my 20s. So spiritual ideas and a spiritual path to me it was life and death. It was really, really important to me. And so talking about it it's just something like I have to do to be true to myself. It probably would have been smarter for my career to just play Dwight and do some fun roles in some comedy films and be as kind of as jaded and skeptical and atheistic and materialistic and cynical as the rest of the comedy community can be. Not all of them.
It's interesting because you talked about that it wasn't always this way. In fact, your parents, your father and your stepmom in the 70s, they were involved in kind of like IRL spiritual community building. They literally would have, hey, do you want to talk about spirituality? People go, oh yeah, let's do, and they would gather and ponder life's great questions. They literally would sing Kumbaya.
Yes.
Like
yes.
this is not a bit. His parents would get together.
We sang Kumbaya in my living room with like African masks hung on the wall.
Not a bit.
And my stepmom wearing a shawl.
Sure.
And my dad smoking a pipe.
Yes.
And it was very post-hippie bohemian 70s kind of incense laden. Because my parents were members of the Bahá'í faith. And one of the great things about the Bahá'í faith is how inclusive it is of other spiritual beliefs and paths. So we would invite people of all different faiths. I remember having Buddhist monks in our living room, and I remember having born-again Christians in our living room, and Mormons, and we'd be sharing meditations and prayers and deep conversation.
Pretty rad, because in 2025, if you said, do you want to come to my spiritual gathering, the person would be like, are you talking about an orgy?
That's probably true.
This is true, yes. Yeah. Like anytime you mention like we're having a spiritual gathering, it's like, okay, it's spring break, you got an Airbnb in Ojai and you want me to do mushrooms. Like this is kind of the extent of what we're talking about.
That's pretty much true. I will say that if you were asking someone to come to a spiritual conversation or spiritual gathering 10 years ago, there would be a really much greater skepticism about it. Now in 2025, ayahuasca aside and microdosing aside and polyamory aside, like...
I mean, that's 98% of what it is in America.
But
you just said that aside, you got your classics. You got your monotheistic classics.
But I do think that people are looking for something more as systems are breaking down. I think people are more and more interested in exploring spiritual solutions to big problems, both on a personal level and on a societal level.
Now, how do you combat the whole spiritual grifter thing? Because you start, pumping out these types of books, you're very close to flirting with that point of like, when do you want me to put in my credit card number? Like it's that little, And I'm not saying this as a skeptic.
My producer Kartik is here, and we've talked about this a lot because I get a lot of offers for like, hey, you could have a weekend workshop with people. And that sounds fun. And like, and you could provide certain materials and charge extra. And it's like, listen, I made money off a little TV show that you may have heard of. And, I don't want to go there. I don't ever want this to be some kind of like money-making activity. And like I said, I don't have any answers. I'm on a path of search. I'm on a quest. I want to encourage other people to go on a quest. Let's do it together.
This episode is brought to you by Kolkata Chai. Gentler caffeine, low sugar, and bold flavor. That's the promise of chai. I'm talking about the rich, authentic flavors of masala chai, made with organically sourced tea and hand-milled spices, started by two real brothers in 2019. This chai is the real deal. If you don't believe me, this is the only chai we serve in my house. Grab the best chai in the game at kolkatachai.co. What clicked for me when I was reading the book is really what the buy-in for me is Rainn is really grappling with paradoxes. That's why I find your work to be so interesting. I think let's talk about the top level. The top level that's most interesting is the paradox of being an artist in showbiz. So you're grappling with two conflicting ideas. Number one, you have to have humility. And then simultaneously be incredibly maniacally selfish. You have to have the humility to humble yourself to the craft, the art, form, even the audience, and your co-stars and collaborators. But then also have the narcissism to be like, I should be on screen. I should be the highest on the call sheet. Why isn't this about me? I need to be a sociopath.
Yeah.
But you have really grappled with that. How have you made sense of those two conflicting ideas?
That's a very insightful question that could only come from someone in show business, because you're absolutely right. Like, I come from a theater background. I'm here in New York doing some theater. I've been doing some other plays and stuff, and that's where I started. And in theater, philosophically, it's like you're here to serve the play and to serve the character and to be part of an ensemble.
Yeah.
And
but also audition for it and beat all these other people out and play the zero-sum.
There is that element, but there is a kind of like an idealism about the theater and a utopianism of like this ensemble and we're all in it together.
Yeah.
So that was part of my training, but you're right. Then you get out into the real world and then you get into auditioning and success and ambition. And that was very corrosive for me. And that caused me a lot of unhappiness. And I've talked about this before on other podcasts, but one of my unhappiest times in my life was being on The Office, because my ego ambition just wanted more. Like, why am I only a TV star? How come I'm not a movie star? And how come I'm not getting this deal? And how come, that constant spiritual, like, hunger, in Buddhism, they call it the hungry ghost, striving for something more than what you have.
You struggled with jealousy.
Struggled with jealousy, sure.
Who are you jealous of most of on The Office?
Mostly Creed, yeah.
I was going to say Krasinski.
No, honestly, in all honesty, I didn't really have envy, and I'm really saying this for Steve or for John or Ed Helms, or having larger movie careers than me. It was really like people not on The Office, like just kind of like, it wasn't even that. It wasn't like,
look,
why am I not having the career that?
I don't want to make you uncomfortable. Let me tell you who I'm jealous of, and maybe that'll loosen this up.
I'm being honest with you.
Okay,
There's no loosening up here.
Oh, gotcha.
Like, I would say right now, like, John Krasinski can suck it. No. I loved my castmates and was so happy for their success. I just wanted more myself.
Got it. Well, what do you do with that feeling?
Well, this is a great spiritual test, because it's not just for actors. You can be an accountant, you can be a marketing manager, and you can have the feelings of, like, even when you achieve great success, even when you get the raise and the promotion that you always wanted, there's always that something more just outside of your grasp. And that constant grasping and clutching for something more is one of the central tenets of Buddhism about what makes us so unhappy as human beings. And this is, it's an essential foundational spiritual struggle for all people. And it really has to do with, everything I need, I have right now. Yeah. And I'm taking a breath right now. I am enough. I have everything that I need right now. And that really is true for 99% of the human population.
Do you still struggle with that? Can you still breathe and go, I'm enough?
I struggle with it so much less. Occasionally I get twinges of like, am I a washed up one-hit wonder sitcom actor, and has Hollywood cast me away? And will I never work again? I get that twang. I'm like, oh.
Yeah.
And then it goes away, because I've got lots of projects and books and fun things and acting to do. So it's all fine. But yeah.
An interesting convo that I've had with people is they describe exploring spirituality when they were younger, and they go, now I'm living a creative life. Mm-hmm. And they see having a creative life and having a spiritual life as two different things that exist in conflict. Mm-hmm. Both you and I, we live a creative life. We explore our spirituality and our spiritual backgrounds. Why do you think people think those two things are in conflict?
Well, we live in a culture where everything is put into very different buckets. So, our religious life is, church on Sundays. Our hobby and our passion is what we do on Sunday afternoons. Our family is what we do around dinner time. And nature is something that we fit in for a week during the summer. And so it's very fractured. And humanity, for most of its existence, for the first 100,000 years of humanity, all of those things were one. Creativity, nature, family, society, faith, communing with something divine. They were all interwoven. You can read about this in any kind of indigenous philosophy. And it's only now that things are fractured and segmented. I believe that the creative impulse is a spiritual impulse. And that everyone is creative. Everyone is an artist in some way, shape, or form. And that we emulate the divine by seeking to create something where there was nothing. It's the Big Bang. There was nothing, and then there was an explosion of life and molecules and solar systems. And there's a blank page, there's an empty stage. Now there's a poem, now there's a dance, now there's a play, now there's a film, now there's a song. That is an emulation of that divine spark. And in both of our faith traditions, God is called the fashioner. And there's something powerful about being a fashioner. And it is a spiritual act. So part of it for me was like, I always had this dichotomy. Like, why am I this actor playing these weird characters? And then why am I a closet Oprah? Like,
Right.
how do I marry those two things? And then realizing like, hey, playing a character like Dwight Schrute is me transforming myself, my ungainly, weird suburban white self into an ungainly, weird suburban white character on a TV show, and making people laugh and telling stories and creating memorable situations. And there's a service component in that. And there is actually, at risk of sounding really like, what's the word? Snobby?
Snobby, navel-gazing. Egotistical.
There's something beautiful about that. And
no, it is.
So for me, it's trying to marry all of it.
Did you?
Now, let me ask you a question.
Sure.
You're a Muslim.
Yes.
Do you find a kind of a divide between your Muslim life and your stand-up comedy life and your artistic life? Do you find a rift there, or are you able to kind of like connect the dots?
Yeah, if you're practicing, it's pretty all-encompassing. The iTunes user agreement for Islam is pretty dotted up. There's a lot you got to do to clear the queue here. So I struggled for a long time thinking they were two different things. One was like more of a worldly pursuit. One of them was a more spiritual pursuit. And then as I got older, and funny enough, it was like the comedy community and other artists that put me on to understanding the ancient wisdom of what I do. So what I mean by that is I'd be doing stand-up comedy, and then as I got older, and then other comedians and collaborators and writers and improvisers got older, they would be like, oh, I love Rumi poetry. And I'm like, yeah, wait, what? Mm-hmm. You're talking about the 11th century poet, Rumi. Mm-hmm. Oh yeah, like I have a tattoo. And I started to then tap into the other great Urdu poetry and other kind of historical Islamic art that is very, very popular. So, my parents are from India. So shairi, poetry, qawwali, these are like very, very highly respected art forms. And so my trips when I would go back to India and then experience and hang out with other musicians, artists, poets, and authors, you start to see that, these two things were like...
But you're doing jokes about kids hugging grandparents.
Sure.
You're not doing poetry.
Yeah.
No offense.
No, it's not it's not
But
poetry.
how do you connect those?
But you're still... okay, so like one of the great Qawwali singers is this guy, Nusrat Ali Fateh Khan. Like if you're a Qawwali fan, he's like arguably one of the greatest Qawwali singers ever. But shairi and poetry, you're just putting together sentences. You're basically putting together bars. And when you go to a Qawwali night or a shairi night, at the end of like a couplet, like the audience goes, wow, 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 wow. They go, oh, wow, wow. Like they snap,
nice.
They give it up.
Nice, yeah.
So that you put together an argument about the beloved or the divine or the nature of reality, and people are like, oh, that's a good point. Which is essentially what stand-up is. You're putting together a clever argument or distillation of the human.
And then when you get that payoff.
Yeah. That's the wah, 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 wah. Say it? Wah, wah, wah. Yeah, you did it.
But at risk of sounding pretentious, there's an element of the artist that's like the shaman, and there's certainly stand-ups do it more than actors, which is speaking the truth to power, speaking the truth to culture, having one connection to the divine, another connection to the ancestors.
Yeah, and then my favorite comics will do something like that, and then they'll also cut it with like a dick joke, a fart joke,
right? Yeah, I imagine the great shamans told dick and fart jokes back in the cave, illumined by firelight after the day of the hunt.
Yeah. But I was like literally rapping with our producer PV about this. One of the worst parts of anything that becomes too academic, you become like a brain just sitting in like a vat.
Yeah.
Almost like, you become Krang in Ninja Turtles. and the great comics.
Another 90s reference.
Yeah, but the great comics are able to, like tell very cerebral jokes, but then also talk about sex and love and farting and fucking and just all the things that make you human.
Yeah.
You have a section of your book called Yo Atheists on page 79. What are the atheists missing?
I love the atheists for a number of different reasons. They're natural skeptics. They're going to seek the truth for themselves. They're not going to just inherit some kind of belief system that's handed down from grandparents and great-great-grandparents. They're going to figure out the truth for themselves.
Yeah.
They're science-based and have a natural kind of curiosity. And I think all of those things are really important. What are atheists missing? I think they're missing a deeper connection to why. Why are we alive?
Yeah.
Why are we here?
Yeah.
Why do we have consciousness? Why do we have a kind of a consciousness that we don't need to have? We don't need to have the ability to have dialogue like we're having right now.
Sure.
To promote the species and propagate the species, we just need a consciousness that allows us to kind of like be much closer to, some kind of monkey or ape, and fuck and have basic social structures.
Yeah.
And the miracle of consciousness, to me, is one of the proofs that, by the way, science has no possible way of understanding. And I can see the comments happening right now, but it's true. The idea that you could do some kind of brain scan and try and understand exactly how and why we feel things and remember things and create operas and long to go into the stars and weep when we're holding a baby, and are each one of us here participating in a kind of a 3D surround sound movie that we're walking in is proof of the miraculousness of life, not to mention the fact that, if the planet Earth was 100 miles further from the sun, we'd all be dead. If it was 100 miles closer to the sun, we'd all be dead. That it has exactly the right oxygen levels, that everything in the universe is aligned for us to have life and for us to have consciousness and to be having this conversation right now.
Yeah.
And there is a miraculousness to that goes beyond kind of mere materialism.
Yeah, and I've gotten into really interesting conversations with atheists that I love. And I have some in my family that I'm related to and very, very close friends that are atheists. They've raised the question of, well, my issue is with organized religion, and why do my morality, my ethics, and social jurisprudence have to be navigated through a particular organized religion and faith? And I've always thought that's like an interesting thing. It's an interesting question that they raise. For me, I do need the guilt.
You need it?
Oh, I need it.
It helps you.
It helps me. Yeah.
If you didn't have it, what would happen? You'd go off the rails.
It'd be crazy. It'd be crazy. It'd be nuts. Yeah.
People hear the word morality and they cringe. For a good reason, because morality has been used as a bludgeoning tool for centuries to try and keep people in line and keep them in guilt and shame.
Yeah.
But at the same time, we've swung the pendulum the other direction, where some kind of greater morality seems to not exist in contemporary Western thought. That morality is just what we all agree on is right, and morality is essentially what feels right or doesn't feel right. I'm a member of a faith. I'm a member of the Bahá'í faith, and I'm a card-carrying member. I've signed up. I love it.
You guys have cards?
We have cards.
Stop, really?
I might, yeah.
Like a driver's license?
Yeah.
No
way. I have a number. I have a Bahá'í ID number. 0113356.
Don't just say it.
Yeah.
What?
So you can hack it, my account, my Bahá'í account, it's fine.
That's crazy.
Yeah.
Right, this is nuts.
But for me, we've lost so much by jettisoning organized religion.
Yeah.
And what it gives you is community and mission, belonging, and being a part of something greater than yourself.
Yeah.
And providing a lot of services and support as you go along that journey. And if you're casting all that away because there's great hypocrisy in a lot of the world's great organized religions, and there is, and it's for a very good reason, then what are we throwing out? I say in the book, what
was your tool for keeping the good stuff and then kind of hit and delete on the stuff that you felt to be antiquated, cruel, or mean?
First of all, I don't think that in the Baha'i faith there's stuff that's antiquated, cruel, and mean. Okay, so for me, in my faith tradition, there are some things about the faith I wish were different, and it's not, I don't think it's perfect as it stands right now. And for a lot of people, they have a kind of a thing like, well, the faith needs to be perfect for me to align with it. But do you do that with your job? Is your job perfect and otherwise you're not going to work? Is your family perfect? Otherwise you're not going to have a family? But somehow people want their faith system to be like absolute, to not have any kind of flaw or blemish in it in order for them to be a member of it. So that's a weird kind of.
This is nerding out. And by the way, I'm telling my producers, we can cut this if this is too much or if I'm being weird. I've always had
I'm telling the producers, do not cut this. Under any circumstances, you are not allowed to cut this.
Okay.
I'm going to TMZ with some bad shit. If any of this gets cut, that's what I'm saying to the producers.
All right, this is my relationship with God. I have there's the friendly relationship versus the fire and brimstone. I always erred friendly. Here's what I mean by that. In Islam, premarital sex is a no-no. Sex before marriage? No.
Yeah.
But for me, I was just like, God, you get it.
Dude, I was exactly the same way.
He gets it.
I'm like, come on.
He gets it. He gets it.
Look at me.
He gets it.
I'm 19. She is wanting to have sex. What would you do? Seriously, God. Seriously.
Yeah, so in that
moment, I'm going to say no right now?
I'm like,
Seriously.
he gets it. He gets it. God gets it.
God gets it.
And he's with me.
In the Baha'i faith, the morality is not like a fire and brimstone. There's not a concept of hell. You're not going to burn in hell for breaking laws. And it's the same kind of chastity laws in the Baha'i faith. They're there for our guidance because the truth is, too many hookups can lead one to a lot of
Correct. And I totally get it.
Misery.
A lot of misery, yeah.
And confusion.
And I was just saying, in this moment.
Yeah.
My sophomore year of college.
With Rebecca.
We're not even going to name names. I've gotten into a lot of trouble about doing this via my comedy.
Okay. You've named actual names?
I've always switched names, but it's been a whole hullabaloo.
Okay.
You can Google it. Now, in this scenario, I know it's bad when we take it too far, but in this scenario,
right,
God gets it.
He gets it.
He gets
sure.
it.
Yeah.
Cool. This part of the show is called editorial pushback. And as you know, in podcasting, oftentimes people say the host did not push back on the guest enough. So let me push back.
Go.
This is my theory. Whichever religion you pursue is based on how well your life is going. So for someone like you, very successful white person, Buddhism, meditation, you guys love. A post-economic white person, Gwyneth Paltrow, Rainn Wilson, Katy Perry, just loving.
Spirituality is a luxury, kind of like subscribing to Goop or something
you
like
and
that.
Asana in Santa Barbara, Instagram carousel,
like
finding your chakra.
A marble vagina roller or something like
that.
Yeah,
totally. Yes.
Yeah.
Now, when things are going really bad,
you
come to Islam. I'm talking about Mike Tyson. I'm talking about Lindsay Lohan. I'm talking about Andrew Tate. You take the Shahada. How many DUIs do you have? Take the Shahada.
Andrew Tate?
Oh, of course, brother. Brother Tate.
Brother Tate now? Wow.
He took Shahada.
Is he a Haji? Is he Haji Tate? No, because he's in prison.
He is facing Romanian sentencing, possibly. But look, Yeah, Lil Jon took Shahada. Yes, he did. Yes, he did.
I love it.
Yep. I mean,
yeah,
it really is the scared straight of the Abrahamic faiths.
I love that.
Yeah, we're there for Abrahamic religion.
I love that, and I don't disagree. And I think Islam is a beautiful and very viable path to finding.
There is a reason why we're called
community.
The Last Message, because really, when you're on one of your last moments, you got to take
there's nothing I hate worse than the kind of like LA vision of spirituality as this kind of like solipsistic chakra and yoga class goop leaning kind of new agey spirituality that's very vague and kind of expensive and is like a hobby that you practice in your off hours that simply is there to kind of reduce your own anxiety on a daily basis by a certain percentage. And it's because part of having faith is being of service to others. So you tap into your belief and you have a certain measure of surrender so that you can help other people. And that new age way of being with spirituality is completely narcissistic. And so, I agree with that completely. But for me, I came to spirituality because I was in anguish and I had mental health crisis and I had addiction crisis, and I was searching for meaning and some kind of mooring of like, why am I fucking alive? And so I don't think you need to have office residuals to experience that, and if you go into any 12-step meeting, you're there with, truck drivers and,
Totally.
and custodians.
Sure.
And, hitting bottom is a universal.
Indeed it is. It's funny, I was watching the Super Bowl halftime show when Kendrick just unloaded the clip on Drake. And I was like, it's only a matter of time until Aubrey joins.
That's really good. Bravo. Come on, let's give him the golf
it's
clap.
not a...
Come on.
If you're clapping, it's a good point.
That was good.
It is going to happen. You ever seen those Deadline.com articles? It's got like an opinion column. Why I'm leaving show business. I was the anonymous person that said, have you tried Islam? It's multi-paragraphs. So you've written, the part that appeals to you most about your Baha'i faith is that it's both inward and outward. What does that mean?
Well, there's a kind of belief system inherent in the Baha'i faith, and I do believe that it's inherent in Islam and real Buddhism and Christianity as well.
How come you say Islam so perfectly, but you always say Muslim like you're a Fox News host? What is with people?
They hit Islam. Seattle.
You hit the layup in stride, but then Muslim is like you're about to announce a drone strike. Like what's going on?
As opposed to
Muslim. Yeah.
And I say Muslim?
You go Muslim.
Muslim?
Yeah.
Can it just
There's
be
2 billion Muslims.
Muslims?
Yeah.
Muslims. No. Muslims. Muslims.
Just hit it with the S.
Muslims.
Sammy. Yeah.
Muslims.
Yes.
Muslim. Can I blame it on suburban Seattle? I don't know.
I think you probably blame it on the news.
Yeah.
Perhaps. I know a lot of Muslims. I don't know any Muslims.
Muslims. Oh, I see. Muslims.
Or you hit it with the M-U-double-Z. You hit it with the Muslims. What a time, right? So you literally learned something new.
I really did, and thanks for calling me on that. I'm going to work on that.
I'm not calling you
on it. It's all good.
I'm not calling
what were we talking about?
Yeah, I don't know what we were talking
In
about.
every spiritual tradition, there is a twofold moral purpose that we're given, a moral charge.
Yeah.
The spiritual path insists on us bettering ourselves.
Yeah.
Becoming more wise, more kind, more compassionate.
Yes.
And there's prayer and meditation, there's contemplation, there's study of sacred texts, there's kind of an examination of one's life, there's, examining the idea that someday we'll be dead, we'll meet our maker, we're gonna have that conversation. And then there's another aspect to spirituality, which is, how do we take what we've learned? How do we take that wisdom and put it to work to make the world a better place? And there is a moral charge to reduce and relieve the suffering of others. And this is central to Buddhism and Islam and the Baha'i faith, which is we have a charge to help humanity move forward and make the world a better place. It's not just enough to kind of grow kinder and wiser and sit in our cul-de-sac and let that be enough. So this is the inward and outward. In the book, I talk about the 2 TV shows. I talk about Kung Fu from the 1970s, one of my favorite TV shows, and Star Trek, because Kung Fu is about the inner path, Kwai Chang Caine walking this kind of racist, chaotic cowboy world and seeking to spread wisdom. And then Star Trek is really this utopian vision of humanity moving forward with greater and greater kind of maturity.
Yeah, we have explored some really deep, profound, meaningful, philosophical discussions today.
Okay.
And that's been really awesome. But it's terrible for social media.
Yeah.
I want to play a game with you called Feed Size Wisdom, because you've been doing these long walks.
Okay.
People are doing this.
Sure.
I need you to give it to me in just an Instagram reel level.
Okay, here we go.
Okay, here we go. I'm gonna ask you some of life's big questions.
All right.
And you're gonna distill thousands of years of wisdom
Okay.
in essentially 15 seconds or less.
Here we go.
Here we go. Do we have free will?
Yes, we have free will, and this is a test from the divine, so do with it as you will.
Do we have a purpose?
Yes, we have a purpose. To increase our wisdom and to serve others.
Is there such thing as true love or a soulmate?
No. Yes and no. Yes, there is true love, and no, there's not a soulmate. There's many people that we could mate with, but seeking true love, see, I can't do it in a short bite-sized
Why?
segment.
Why not?
I don't know, it's a longer conversation. Come on, Hasan.
People are now on to the next thing.
We lost them.
Yeah, we
lost
them. Let's get back on track. Here we go.
Okay.
What makes a civilization flourish? Quickly.
A civilization flourishes from the embrace.
God damn it! Get to it! Make it a fucking carousel. Yes! Yes! Is there an absolute morality or do we create our own?
There's an absolute morality, and it's God-given. There, I said it.
Are we noble beings
So
or
suck it.
Yes, fucking suck it. If you don't believe it, suck it. Are we noble beings or are we just animals in our essence?
We're both. We're noble beings and animals. That's the rub. And that's the challenge.
What's the one true faith and why is it Islam?
Because there is no God but Allah and Muhammad is his prophet.
Thank you so much. Rainn Wilson, ladies and gentlemen.
Hasan Minhaj, ladies and
Hey.
gentlemen.
Okay. Good to see you. This is what winter break is like when you're sitting in the living room with my dad.
Salam alaikum.
Wa alaikum assalam.